In the quiet suburbs of northern Utah, nestled between the Wasatch Mountains and the stillness of the Great Salt Lake, Jennifer Gledhill seemed to live a life many envied. A mother of two, a PTA volunteer, and a wife to James Gledhill, an accountant known for his involvement in the local church community. Jennifer's life appeared orderly, stable, even idyllic. But behind the manicured hedges and staged family photos, something darker festered. A bitter divorce was underway. Tensions that had simmered for years had finally erupted into something uncontainable. And before the ink on the divorce papers could dry, James Gledhill would be dead, murdered. And Jennifer, the woman who once called him the love of her life, would be the prime suspect. But it wasn't just the murder that shocked the community. It was what came next. A confession whispered in secrecy to a lover, a disturbing network of family members drawn into a cover-up, and a truth so twisted that even now, many still question. Was this a crime of passion, or a meticulously planned act of betrayal? To those around them, the Gledhills were the model of suburban success. But friends close to the couple knew the marriage had been crumbling for years. Jennifer reportedly felt emotionally suffocated, claiming James was controlling and dismissive. James, in turn, believed Jennifer had grown cold, distant, and increasingly secretive. Their arguments became routine, loud enough for neighbors to overhear, but never loud enough to warrant police involvement. They fought about finances, the children's education, Jennifer's growing independence. By the winter of 2024, they were both seeing attorneys. Divorce was not only inevitable, it was imminent. Then something changed. Jennifer became different, more aloof, more distracted. And as the investigation would later uncover, she had started a relationship with another man, a local contractor she had met through a home renovation project named Lewis Parker. The affair was quiet, discreet, but it wasn't meaningless. In Lewis, Jennifer found not just companionship, but what prosecutors would later describe as a safe place to express deadly intentions. On the night of March 14, 2025, a snowstorm blanketed their neighborhood. Most stayed indoors, heaters humming, windows fogged from the cold. According to Jennifer, James had come over to the house to discuss finalizing child custody arrangements. But what began as a conversation devolved into yet another bitter argument. The kids, aged 11 and 14, were thankfully staying at Jennifer's sister's home that night. Jennifer claimed James was aggressive, that he threatened to take the children from her permanently. The argument moved into the kitchen. That's where everything, according to her, went black. At 11:03 p.m., Jennifer placed a call, not to 911, but to her brother, Ethan. When investigators arrived nearly 12 hours later, after a tip from a concerned coworker of James who hadn't seen him at a scheduled meeting, they found James's body in the garage. He had suffered blunt force trauma to the back of the head. There were no signs of forced entry, no signs of robbery, only signs of a cleanup. And Jennifer? She was calm. Too calm, one officer later said. In the days that followed, detectives began to see a troubling pattern. Jennifer wasn't just dealing with the aftermath. She was orchestrating a narrative, a false one. They learned that shortly after the incident, Jennifer had spoken to Lewis, the man she'd been seeing in secret. She didn't confess outright in writing, but he later told authorities she had said something that chilled him to the core. "It's over. I made sure it would never be a problem again." Investigators also discovered that Jennifer's brother, Ethan, had been at the home that night. He later admitted to helping her clean the scene, disposing of towels, wiping surfaces, even moving James's car down the block to make it look like he'd left voluntarily. Jennifer's sister, Miriam, was also implicated, accused of storing a bag of blood-stained clothes and later lying to authorities about Jennifer's whereabouts that night. A web of deception began to unravel. One lie led to another. Text messages were uncovered, deleted messages recovered, and GPS data from the family's vehicles showed inconsistencies in Jennifer's timeline. But it was Lewis's testimony that would become the cornerstone of the prosecution's case. Lewis initially resisted speaking with police. He said he loved Jennifer and didn't believe she was capable of something so cold-blooded. But after weeks of internal torment and mounting pressure, he came forward. He told investigators that Jennifer had spoken about killing James months before the incident. She felt cornered, she said. If she lost custody, she'd lose everything. Lewis, though disturbed, dismissed the talk as emotional venting. But after James's death, when Jennifer arrived at his home in tears, clothes disheveled, hands trembling, he knew. He remembered her repeating one phrase over and over again. "You said you'd help me if it ever came to this." Those words would haunt him, and they would help prosecutors secure an arrest warrant. Jennifer was arrested on April 2, 2025, charged with first-degree murder, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy to cover up a crime. Her brother and sister were also charged with obstruction and tampering with evidence. The trial was one of the most talked about in Utah that year. Prosecutors painted Jennifer as manipulative, calculating, and unremorseful. They described how she played the role of victim while systematically orchestrating her husband's murder. The defense argued that Jennifer acted in self-defense, citing years of emotional abuse and a lack of support. They claimed her confession to Lewis had been misinterpreted, that she hadn't meant to kill James, only to protect herself during a moment of physical threat. But the jury didn't buy it. Too many lies, too much manipulation, too many family members tangled in a web they couldn't explain. Jennifer Gledhill was found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to 30 years to life in prison. Ethan and Miriam both took plea deals and received reduced sentences in exchange for cooperation. Even after the verdict, questions linger. Was Jennifer a victim who broke under pressure? Or was she always capable of something far more sinister? Did Lewis know more than he admitted? And how many other people helped, out of love, fear, or loyalty? Some in the community say Jennifer simply snapped. Others believe she planned it all along and used her family like pawns. But one truth remains clear. A father is dead. A mother is in prison. And a once-close family is shattered beyond repair. To you listening, I leave you with this question. What would you do if your sibling confessed to murder? Would you help them or turn them in? Let us know in the comments. If the story stirred something in you, if it made you think about abuse, justice, or the fragile thread that holds families together, then don't let it stop here. Share this story so others can wrestle with it too. Subscribe if you want to keep hearing the stories that challenge comfort and demand we look closer than like this video, not only because it is pleasant, but because justice matters, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an upload. The end. Thank you. See you in the next series.